Hello, I'd like to talk to you more about the two knights defence, last one in this video series on the two knights defence with and we'll look at White's last option after knight f6 in the two knights defence, played d4, which is very dynamic, and actually this is how I reckon you should play for White. Two big options for White here. If we take on d4 for Black, and now White can play either castles or e5. I don't think either are terribly threatening, but there's plenty of ways for Black to go wrong. I suppose there's ways for White to go wrong. Let's have a look at it from Black's point of view, but we'll keep an eye on White's chances as well. If e5, this is the modern variation, then knight e4 as usual, and if castles d5, bishop g4, and yeah, Black's doing fine here. If h3, then h5 is a great move. Takes, knight moves away, queen g4, and you're just dandy there, so that's all right. If knight e4, well, probably the what else can we imagine here? So knight takes on d4, d5 is natural, bishop b5, bishop d7, and now to avoid some swaps, takes on c6, takes on c6 to keep the bishop pair, and now White's got a choice of a few moves. I guess bishop to e3 and castles are the main options, and Black should be okay here. The White's got some opportunities to play against these weak pawns. I mean, certainly if they get the Queen's Knight around and stuck into that square, that's a threat, and that takes a long while to organise. The other idea for White is to play the f pawn, hit the knight, and then defend the pawn. But you've got the two bishops; you're pretty solid, and I think Black can survive these positions quite happily. Castles instead of e5, and there's a very complicated line which you can go and look up, because I'm not going to recommend it, with bishop to c5, and this is called a Max Langer attack. You can transpose, I guess, if you play e5 and d5, and now bishop across, knight up, and takes on d4 is the same sort of line that we've just looked at, but the big main line of it actually goes in this position, takes on f6 excuse me, takes on c4, and there's all sorts of madness happening. So castles, and now knight to g5, and now the best move is not to take on f6, which is a trap, because there's the threat coming up is to take on e6, and after you take back with the pawn, then there's a check on h4, which forks the king and the bishop, and will win for White. So don't do that. But so your best move, and only move I think probably, is queen d5, and then what's Black going to do about that? What White going to do? So knight c3, bishop to queen to f5, g4. Who knows what's going on? I mean, probably better for Black, but very complicated, and not easy to remember, and it won't happen that often, so you'll forget it. So don't get into it. So I think take the other pawn. You're two pawns up, but you have to give them back. But it looks risky for the moment, but it soon is a lot more simple than the Max Langer attack. So rook e1, d5, and that move solves a lot of problems in a lot of these lines. And best idea here for White is to take on d5 rather surprisingly. Queen takes, knight c3, Wouldn't it be nice to take that? But you're there's too much that's pinned. If you take on c3 with the pawn, obviously the queen goes. Queen is pinning the queen, the pawn against the queen, and so in this position, black can play either queen h5. So this position, queen h5 or queen a5. We'll look at queen a5. Knight takes e4, and now there's a discovered check. If the white knight lands on d6, we're going to be in trouble. So bishop e6 to cover the e file. Knight eg5, castles, takes, rook e6, and after bishop d6, I mean, probably about equal, but there's reasons to fancy black here. A little bit more space, a little bit more natural development. And after queen e2, queen h5, and knight e5, isolating the rook. Black's got no problems in this position. That's fine. Going back to move 7 after d5, I've said bishop takes d5 is the best move, but actually white will also play knight to c3 earlier, which is a genuine piece sacrifice. Takes on c3, takes on d5, and now I think you can probably fiddle your way to equality after either bishop to f5, takes, bishop e7, that's just equal I think, or after bishop takes e5, bishop e6, takes bishop b4, b3, takes, and rook d8, and after bishop e3, a6, you've got an extra pawn, but it's this one, and it's hard to keep and hard to make use of. I mean, if that pawn was somewhere nice and tasty like d6 instead, if you can imagine that, you'd have an uncompromised sort of pawn majority, and you could advance it and think yourself well off. But I think the storm has blown itself out, and this is about equal. But that's White's fault for not playing a better game. So I think that's about all you need to know to play the two knights defence. We'll look at other approaches by White in other videos.